If proof were ever needed, coming face to face with Anne Robinson can be a hair-raising experience. It comes on The Weakest Link on BBC Two of the classic Mastermind.
In the spotlight tonight is Keith Harrison from Telford, a warehouseman, and his specialist subject is Frank Sinatra. Jane Ann Liston from St Andrews, a constituency caseworker, and her subject is the Lord Peter Wimsey books. Mark Shanahan from Princess Risborough, communications consultant, his subject, the Russian scientist Sergei Korolev, and Simon Smith from Cardiff, a project manager, and his subject, Polish history from 960 to 1696. Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphreys. 4 more contenders take the toughest test on television tonight, but only one will emerge victorious and claim a place in the semi-finals. They'll have 2 minutes on their specialist subject and, as ever, 2 minutes on general knowledge. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Keith Harrison.
Your occupation?
Warehouseman.
And your chosen subject?
The life and career of Frank Sinatra.
2 minutes on the life and career of Frank Sinatra, starting now. On which street in Hoboken was the family home where the young Francis Sinatra lived with his parents, Martin and Dolly?
415 Monroe Street.
Correct. Which of his LPs was #1 in the first UK album chart in July 1956?
Songs for Swinging Lovers.
Yes. Which executive producer did he hire for the 1962 film The Manchurian Candidate before working with him on several other films?
Pass.
What was the name of the trio whom he joined to form the Hoboken Four, who appeared on the radio talent show Major Bowes and his original amateur hour?
Pass.
Sinatra married Nancy Barbato in which Jersey City church in February 1939?
St Saviour's Church.
Our Lady of Sorrows. When Sinatra joined Harry James as a vocalist on a 2-year contract in June 1939, what name did the band leader suggest he should adopt?
Frankie Satin.
Yes. Sinatra met his future fiancée, Juliet Prowse, and the Soviet leader, Nikita Khrushchev, on the set of which 1960 film?
Can-Can.
Yes. Which physical defect led to him being classified 4F by the military, kept him out of active service during the Second World War?
Punctured eardrum.
Yes. What was the name of the accompanist and guitarist who arranged and conducted the 1962 album Sinatra and Strings?
Pass.
Which 1964 Sinatra movie featured the song My Kind of Town?
Robin and the Seven Hoods.
Yes. With whom did he re-record the classic Cole Porter song I've Got You Under My Skin as a duet in 1993?
Bono.
Yes. The Reverend Jesse Jackson of the UN Special Committee on Apartheid criticised Sinatra for appearing in which city in August 1981?
Sun City.
Yes. Which duet did his character Mike Connor perform with Liz Imbrie, played by Celeste Holm, in the 1956 film High Society?
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Correct. Among several mafia associations that dogged him throughout his life, Sinatra was seen drinking and gambling with Lucky Luciano in which city in 1947?
Havana.
Yes. What was the title of his 1949 film, which is reputed to have been the first film musical to be shot on location?
Ship Ahoy.
On the Town. Which 1966 song was the first single released by Sinatra's own Reprise label to top the UK charts?
Sorry, would you repeat the question?
Which 66 song was the first single released by Sinatra's own Reprise label to top the UK charts?
Strangers in the Night.
Strangers in the Night it was, and I could tell you your passes. The name of the trio was The Three Flashes. Howard Koch was that executive producer, and Don Costa was the accompanist on Sinatra and Strings. You had 3 passes, Keith Harrison, and 11 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Jane Ann Liston.
Your occupation?
I'm a constituency caseworker.
And your chosen subject?
The Lord Peter Wimsey books by Dorothy L. Sayers.
The Lord Peter Wimsey books in 2 minutes, starting now. In which county is the village of Dukes Denver, where Breeden Hall, the ancestral home of the Whimsy family, is situated?
Norfolk.
Correct. What are the first two words spoken by Whimsy in the first novel, Whose Body, and also his final two words in the last novel, Busman's Honeymoon?
Oh, damn.
Yes, in the 5 red herrings, 3 of Whimsy's list of suspects live in Cookubry. In which nearby town do the other 3 live?
Gatehouse of Fleet.
Yes, whose death later discovered to be suicide causes Gerald, Duke of Denver, to come under suspicion of murder in Clouds of Witness?
Captain Cathcart.
Yes. In Unnatural Death, what's the make and model of the car, registration number XX9917, in which Miss Whittaker and Miss Findlay travel to Shelley Head?
A Ford.
Austin 7. What's the name of the architect in whose bathroom a mysterious corpse appears in whose body?
Phipps.
Yes. In Uncle Paul's biographical note, which is appended to several of the novels, he reveals that Whimsy was awarded which medal in the Great War?
The DSO.
Yes. What's the first name of Bunter, who was a sergeant alongside Whimsy during the war, later became his valet?
Mervyn.
Yes. In Have His Carcass, Whimsy and Harriet Vane discover that which 8-letter word is the clue to the coded letter?
Monarchy.
Yes. While Harriet's investigating a light from the library in Gaudy Night, which student does she find near the buttery door after she's met Miss Barton?
Cattermole.
Miss Hudson. Which fruit does Lord Peter's son Breeden Whimsy confess to have stolen from Mr. Pufford in the story Tall Boys?
Peaches.
Yes. In which advertising agency does Whimsy work under the name of Death Breeden?
Pym's Publicity.
Yes. What's the name of the bog that Whimsy falls into on his way to Grimethorpe's farm in Clouds of Witness?
Peter's Pot.
Yes. In Murder Must Advertise, who recognised that the Death Breeden's batting style is identical to that of Whimsy?
Mr. Brotherhood.
Yes. Which barrister defends Harriet at a trial for murdering Philip Boyes?
Sir Impey Biggs.
It was. In Unnatural Death, Miss Climson stays at which guest house in Leahampton while she's investigating for Lord Peter?
Pass.
What is the name of the dentist whom Whimsy visits in the story entitled In the Teeth of Evidence?
Murray.
Mr. Lamplugh, in the bibulous business of A Matter of Taste, what is the first wine that's offered to the 2 Lord Peter Whimsys and Mr. Death Breeden?
Sauterne.
Chablis. In some novels, Whimsy's main police contact is Charles Parker, who becomes his brother-in-law, but in which novel does he work with Superintendent Blundell?
The Nine Tailors.
The Nine Tailors is correct. Your time is up. You had only 1 pass. It was Fairview, the name of that guest house. 1 pass. Jane Ann, 14 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Mark Shanahan.
Your occupation?
I'm a communications consultant.
And your chosen subject?
Is the life and work of Sergei Korolev.
Sergei Korolev in 2 minutes, starting now. Korolev was born in which small city near Kiev in 1907?
Zitomir.
Yes, in which Moscow street was the apartment where he was arrested in the early hours of the 27th of June 1938?
Kotanovsky.
Konyovskaya. Which Russian schoolteacher and early space theorist who died in 1935 was a major influence on Korolev and his contemporaries?
Sander.
No, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. What were the names of the dogs who became the first to be sent into space and brought safely back to Earth in August 1960?
Galka and Stralka.
Correct. Which Marshal of the Army who was executed during a purge in 1937 recognised the work of Korolev and his colleagues and set up the Reactive Scientific Research Institute as a rocket development centre?
Pass.
The Amateur Rocketry Society that Korolev, Sander and others founded in Moscow in 1931 was known by which 4-letter acronym?
GIRD.
Correct. Which launcher was developed as the first Soviet ICBM but proved central to the Sputnik and Vostok programs, while modified versions still play a major role in Russian space launches?
The R7.
Yes. What was the maiden name of the translator and interpreter colleague who became Korolev's second wife?
Nina Ivanova Kolotovna.
No, Kotenkova. Soviet long-range rocket and missile tests were held at which site in the Astrakhan area of southern Russia until the development of the Baikonur site in the late 50s?
Kapustin Tsar.
Yes, after his transfer from a hard labour camp to a less severe penal institution, Korolev worked for several years under which major figure of Soviet aeronautics?
Tupolev.
Yes, in 1964, Khrushchev instructed him to launch a 3-man spacecraft by the end of the year. What name was given to this programme?
Voskhod.
Yes. Which Russian word did Korolev use as his call sign when he was communicating with Yuri Gagarin during Gagarin's historic spaceflight?
Cedar.
Zarya 1. Which injury that he sustained in the Gulag is said to have prevented the insertion of a breathing tube to his lungs during surgery that resulted in his death in 1966?
A broken jaw.
Correct. Which major Soviet honour was bestowed twice on Korolev in 1956 and again in 1961?
Order of Lenin.
Hero of socialist labour. In early 1966, which spacecraft that Korolev helped design made the first soft landing, I've started so I'll finish, on the moon's surface just 17 days after his death?
Luna 3.
Luna 9, you were close. The pass was Mikhail Tukhachevsky. He was the Marshal of the Army I was looking for. 1 pass, Mark Shanahan, 8 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Simon Smith.
Your occupation?
Project manager.
And your chosen subject?
History of Poland from 960 to 1696.
The history of Poland in 2 minutes, starting now. In 1569, the Union of Lublin created a political federation between Poland and which neighbouring Grand Duchy?
Lithuania.
Yes, what was the name of the Polish king who spent much of his reign fighting wars against the Turks and won his most famous victory at Vienna in 1683?
Jan III Sobieski.
Yes, which statute of 1505 established the principle that reforms could not be introduced without the consent of the whole noble class?
Nihil Novi.
Yes, who created the first Polish law code in his statutes for Great Poland and Little Poland in 1347?
Bolesław Zmiały.
Kazimierz the Great. What term denoted the gentry of landed class who received increasingly privileged treatment from the Statute of Kozice onwards?
Szlachta.
Correct. Which king fled Poland when he succeeded the throne of another country on the death of his brother?
Henry of Valois.
Yes. The charters of rights and privileges conferred on the majority of Polish towns in the 13th century were modelled on the code of which German city?
Brandenburg.
Magdeburg. Which churchman and diplomat provided political leadership during the minority of Władysław III and secured the throne of Hungary for the young king?
Zbigniew Olesniki.
Correct. In 1410, whom did the Polish-Lithuanian army defeat in a battle known variously as Grunwald or Tannenberg?
The Teutonic Knights.
Yes, who wrote a treatise on improving the Republic, which was the first serious analysis of the Polish state and its constitution?
Jan Długosz.
No, Janost Roruk. In the year 1000, where did Bolesław I entertain the Emperor Otto III, who came to honour Poland's first metropolitan see?
Gniezno.
Yes. Which foreign power suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of Commonwealth forces at Kirchholm in 1605?
Sweden.
Yes. Which statesman played a vital role in securing the election of Stefan Batory as king by opposing the claims of the Habsburg contenders?
Pass.
In which city did Kazimierz the Great host a conference that was attended by Emperor Charles IV and the kings of Hungary, Denmark and Cyprus?
Krakow.
Yes. Which constitutional right ultimately did great damage to the Polish state and was used by the deputy Szczeciński to dissolve the Legislative Assembly in 1652?
Liberum veto.
Liberum veto is correct. You had one pass. Jan Zamoyski was the statesman I was looking for. One pass. Simon Smith, 11 points. So that's the end of the specialist subjects, the first round. Let's have a look at the scores. In fourth place with 8 points, Mark Shanahan. Joint second place with 11 points, Keith Harrison and Simon Smith. In the lead with 14 points, Jane Ann Liston. So, round two now, general knowledge, and if there is a tie at the end of this round, they're all pretty close at the moment, then the number of passes get taken into account. So it is better, by and large, to guess than to pass. Let's get on with the general knowledge round and ask Mark Shanahan to join us again, if he would, please. And your man was Sergei Korolyov, of whom I suppose a lot of us haven't ever heard, but a very important bloke because he was the founder of the Soviet space program.
Pretty much so. He was the guy who went to Germany after the war and brought back to Russia the V2 parts that hadn't been salvaged and taken to America. And from there, working with some of the German scientists, created the first Russian missile and then rockets and then...
Sputnik.
Sputnik, 1957, yeah.
And the Russians kept it, I was going to say pretty quiet, they kept it very quiet until they actually did it, unlike the Americans, of course.
Yeah, the Russians kept the whole of their space program very quiet, whereas you had von Braun over in America going on Walt Disney's television channel to talk about the wonders of space. Everything in Russia was hidden. There were many, many failures along the way. None of those were publicised until long after they'd happened. And it was only their successes, once they were proven to be a success, that were released in the media.
Well, fascinating subject. You scored 8 points with it. Let's see how you do with your general knowledge. 2 minutes, starting now. Which film released in 2006 starred Daniel Craig as James Bond?
Pass.
Liechtenstein has a border with Switzerland, and which other country?
Germany.
Austria. Which local crime prevention scheme was first used in 1982 in the Cheshire villages of Lee and Mollington?
Neighbourhood watch?
Yes. The chemical symbol for which element is derived from its old name? It comes from the Greek for silver water.
Pass.
Under what name does the former SAS soldier and author of the Geordie Sharp series write his novels?
Andy McNabb.
Chris Ryan. Which goalkeeper broke a vertebra in his neck in the '56 FA Cup final but kept playing?
Bert Troutman.
Yes. Which of Henry VIII's wives, who was a niece of the Duke of Norfolk, was executed after allegedly committing adultery with a cousin, Thomas Culpeper?
Anne Boleyn.
Catherine Howard. Who succeeded Anne Robinson as the main presenter on the BBC television programme Watchdog?
Nicky Campbell.
Yes. Which city's rise as a bicycle-making centre began in about 1887 when Sir Frank Bowden bought a small factory in Raleigh Street?
Nottingham.
Yes. With which band has Darryl Jones been the bass player since the early 90s, although he is not an official member of the band?
Green Day.
Rolling Stones. By what common name is an infection by the parasitic protozoans of the genus Trypanosoma usually known in tropical Africa?
Malaria.
Sleeping sickness. Landseer's lions at the base of Nelson's column in Trafalgar Square are cast in which metal?
Bronze.
Yes. In the Bible, what's the name of the promised land flowing with milk and honey which God promised to Moses?
Pass.
In which country is Entebbe Airport, where Israeli commandos rescued airline passengers hijacked by Palestinian guerrillas in July '76?
Ethiopia.
Uganda. Which type of biscuit containing the antacid bicarbonate of soda was created in 1892 by the Scotsman Alexander Grant?
Digestive.
Yes. What name for an elected officer responsible for maintaining law and order in an American county also historically means the king's representative in an English county?
Sheriff.
Yes. The lyricist Hal David is best known for his collaborations with which American composer and pianist?
Burt Bacharach.
Correct. In humans, mastitis, I'll finish the question, mastitis is the inflammation of which part of the body?
Breast.
Yes. You had 3 passes. Canaan was the land of milk and honey. Mercury is the chemical element that comes from the Greek for silver water. And Casino Royale was Daniel Craig's film. 3 passes. Mark Shanahan, a total of 17 points.
Thank you.
And now Keith Harrison, please. So, Frank Sinatra. I don't suppose you could call him the greatest singer, but possibly the greatest interpreter of songs of the last century.
If a song's about emotion and how somebody's feelings are to be transmitted, there was nobody better than Sinatra for doing it.
His phrasing was perfect, wasn't it?
His phrasing was absolutely beyond belief. It was wonderful.
What about the Mafia? What's the truth behind that?
I think that anybody growing up in Sinatra's time, and don't forget, I mean, he was born in 1915. He grew up in the era of Prohibition. During the era of Prohibition, the Mafia took a stranglehold on the entertainment business.
So, in effect, if you were in showbiz, you were going to get
on
into
with the mob. And I think that there was also in Sinatra a bit of hero worship towards people like that. In his area of Hoboken, where he grew up, hoods were figures to be sort of, in a backhanded way, admired.
Mm.
I think that it was overstressed, the Mafia connection, but it was definitely there.
Well, 11 points with Frank Sinatra. Let's see how you do with general knowledge. 2 minutes, starting now. 15 Vanderbilt Avenue, New York, is the address of which railway station?
Grand Central.
Yes.
Grand Central.
Izzard is an archaic word for which letter of the alphabet?
E.
Z. What's the correct term for a plasterer's square mortarboard which has a handle underneath?
Float.
Hawk. Which German film star who wore trousers and other mannish clothes helped to launch an American fashion craze in the 1930s?
Marlene Dietrich.
Yes. Which French former footballer baffled reporters by saying when the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea?
Eric Cantona.
Yes. Who in 1901, just 6 weeks short of his 43rd birthday, became the youngest man to be president of the United States?
1901, Grover Cleveland?
No, Teddy Roosevelt. Which composer's music featured in the theatre production Crazy for You, a big hit on both sides of the Atlantic in the 1990s?
Gershwin.
Yes. Which Derbyshire village is known as the Plague Village because it chose to isolate itself when the bubonic plague arrived there in 1665?
Matlock.
Eam. What pen name did the vet and best-selling author Alf White take from a former Scotland and Birmingham City goalkeeper?
Pass.
In Greek mythology, who, according to Sophocles, blinded himself when he discovered that he'd married his mother after killing his father?
Oedipus.
Yes. With which type of drum does the broad-horned antelope found in the dense forests of Central Africa share its more common name?
Eland.
Bongo. Who was the original long-running question master on the British quiz show Sale of the Century?
Nicholas Parsons.
Yes. On which Greek island, a British protectorate for the first half of the 19th century, is the Esplanade ground where British officers introduced cricket to the islanders?
Gibraltar.
Corfu. In May 1941, which German was temporarily imprisoned in the Tower of London?
Hess.
Yes. Which novel by E.M. Forster takes its title from a country house owned by the character Ruth Wilcox?
Pass.
On road signs in Britain, M prefixes the number for each motorway. What letter is used in France?
A.
Yes. And your time's up. 2 passes. Howard's End was the E.M. Forster novel, and James Herriot, of course, was The Vet. 2 passes. Keith Harrison, 19 points. And now Simon Smith, please. Now, I'm puzzled, though you'll explain, I've no doubt, why you chose that particular period of Polish history from 960 to 1696.
Well, it was an interesting period insofar that Poland's geopolitical situation was such that the borders were changing almost constantly. And there was a country that exercised a very strange form of government in the sense it elected its own monarchy, and then it was sandwiched between 2 powers, Prussia and Russia, or Muscovy it was then called, which demanded absolute subjugation of its subjects to the state, whereas Poland seemed to be experimenting with different forms of government which eventually didn't quite work out for it.
But ahead of its time in that sense.
Well ahead of its time.
And a slightly odd thing, one of the slightly odd things about it is that when bits of it gets knocked down, they rebuild them in the old way, in the way that they existed before they got knocked down.
If you go to Warsaw and you go to the old town square, you think, this is really medieval. In fact, it was rebuilt in the 1950s and 60s. It was completely flattened by the Nazis as they retreated. And it's quite incredible because they actually used paintings by Canaletto to reconstruct the architecture of Warsaw as they were building it.
As you say, a fascinating period in a fascinating country. And you have 11 points. The score to beat thus far is 19 points. Let's see if you can do it with your general knowledge. 2 minutes, starting now. Who, in March 1963, told MPs in a personal statement there was no impropriety whatsoever in my acquaintanceship with Miss Keeler?
Profumo.
Yes. Which country produces over 1,500 varieties of sausage, reputedly the greatest number in Europe?
Germany.
Yes. Which small, noisy lizard has a Malay name that is an imitation of its cry?
Komodo dragon.
Gecko. How are the television entertainers Noel Fielding and Julian Barrett collectively known?
Little and large.
The mighty Boosh. Conus Gloria Maris, or Glory of the Sea, is much sought after by collectors of what?
Pearls.
Seashells. Which romantic poet's works include Ode to the West Wind and To a Skylark?
John Keats.
Shelley. In musical notation, what symbol is placed to the right of a note to increase its time value by 1/2?
Dot.
Yes. The name of which southern African desert comes from a word meaning great thirst in the Tswana language?
Kalahari.
Yes. Which aromatic gum that's a symbol of suffering and death was brought by the Magi as a gift for the infant Jesus and was later used to prepare his body for burial?
Myrrh.
Yes. Which football club won their first league championship in the 1950s, their first League Cup in the 60s, their first FA Cup in the 70s?
Portsmouth.
Chelsea. In the Smiths' early concerts, Morrissey paid homage to Oscar Wilde by appearing on stage with what tucked into his trouser pocket?
A bunch of flowers.
Yes, gladioli. Which Dutch scholar who died in 1536 is considered the leader of the humanist movement during the Renaissance in Northern Europe?
Erasmus.
Yes. Which Scottish actor plays Francis Begbie in Train Spotting and Gaz Schofield in The Full Monty?
Robert Carlyle.
Correct. To what status was the planet Pluto demoted after a meeting of the International Astronomical Union in August 2006?
Planetoid.
No, dwarf planet. Which thriller writer was born in Greenwich in 1875 to theatrical parents but was brought up by a Billingsgate fish porter?
Pass.
On what date does the tax year begin in Britain?
April the 5th.
No, April the 6th. God Gifu is the Anglo-Saxon name of which historical figure associated with Coventry?
Lady Godiva.
Yes. Which gypsy, I've started so I'll finish. Which gypsy jazz guitarist was the co-leader of the Quintet du Haut Club de France with Stéphane Grappelli?
Pass.
Well, I can tell you because your time's up. Django Reinhardt. And your other pass, Edgar Wallace, was the thriller writer in question. 2 passes, Simon Smith, 20 points. And finally, Jane Ann Liston, please. And you are a constituency caseworker, and some people will possibly say, a what? What do you do exactly?
I assist the MSP for North East Fife, Ian Smith.
Member of the Scottish Parliament.
That's correct. I'm the first point of call if people want to contact him, and I also deal with his correspondence.
Why do you want to be politically involved? What's the appeal of that?
It is to get things done. You look around and you think, well, maybe this could be done better, and you can do something about it. There's a lot of people that will say that they're not interested in politics. I've found that when I've been canvassing, knocking on the doors, and they say, I'm not interested in politics. And I usually say, oh, you mean the macroeconomics or something? I don't understand that either. But I will say, you're interested in schools, aren't you? You're interested in hospitals. You're interested in the fact there's a hole in the road. You're interested in public transport. And they usually say, well, yeah, well, that's politics. Oh, is it really? So that's the appeal behind it, is to try and get things done.
Well, you have 14 points with your knowledge of the Lord Peter Wimsey books, and you have 20 points to beat. So let's see if you can do it. You have 2 minutes of general knowledge questions starting now. In the game of chess, what warning is it customary to give one's opponent if their king is in danger of capture?
Check.
Yes, the works of which author include Jigs and Reels, Blackberry Wine and 5 Quarters of the Orange?
Pass.
Elephant, leopard, harp and monk are all species of which aquatic mammal?
Seals.
Yes. Which Eastern European city, known as the Paris of the East, has an Arc de Triomphe and became its nation's capital in 1862?
Bucharest.
Yes. In 1964, who became the first person other than royalty to be depicted on a British postage stamp?
Winston Churchill.
William Shakespeare. The name of which brass instrument, particularly associated with traditional jazz, is also the French word for paperclip?
Trombone.
Yes, in the human body, what name's given to the thick sheets of tissue that attach a muscle to a bone?
Ligaments.
Tendon. Which 71 film musical was based on Tevye's Daughters, a collection of short stories by the Jewish writer Shalom Aleichem?
Fiddler on the Roof.
Yes, which Belgian tennis player regained her world #1 status in November 2006 when she beat Maria Sharapova in the semi-final of the Sony Ericsson WTA Tour Championships?
Kim Clijsters.
Justin Ennion Ardennes. Octavia Hill, a well-known housing reformer of her era, was one of the principal founders of which conservation body in 1895?
National Trust.
Correct. The Mona Lisa, sometimes known by what alternative name, which is Italian for the joyful girl?
La Gioconda.
Yes. What word for a young lout featured in a music hall song about a rowdy Irish family of that name in the 1890s?
Hooligan.
Yes. Which Norse god had a hammer called Mjolnir, which always returned to him like a boomerang when he threw it?
Thor.
Yes. What is fermented to make both the Japanese drink sake and the Chinese drink samshu?
Rice.
Yes. The bishop of which English diocese traditionally replaces his surname with Dunelm when he writes his signature because Dunelm was the Latin word for the diocese for which he is responsible?
Durham.
Yes. In which novel by Jane Austen does the heroine reject Henry Crawford's proposal, eventually marrying her true love, Edmund Bertram?
Mansfield Park.
Correct. Which politician was Chancellor of the Exchequer in John Major's government from 1990 to 1993?
Pass.
The North Yorkshire village of Goathland provides the real-life, I'll finish the question, the real-life setting for which television series, first broadcast in 1992?
Last of the Summer Wine.
No, Heartbeat. You had 2 passes. Norman Lamont was the Chancellor, whose name you couldn't remember, and Joanne Harris wrote Jigs and Reels and all that. 2 passes, but it didn't matter, you got enough. 26 points. So, at the end of the contest, let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 17 points, Mark Shanahan. In 3rd place with 19 points, Keith Harrison. In 2nd place with 20 points, close so far, Simon Smith. In 1st place, she leapt ahead with 26 points, Jane Ann Liston. Which means, of course, that she goes through to the semi-final. Congratulations to her. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Peaky Blinders tonight at 9, and it's all about war, as Thomas's battle with the Lee family steps up a gear, giving us even more drama to enjoy later on BBC Two. Weekiest Link is on the way for this afternoon in a moment.
Last challenge, teamwork and communication.
I'm not a team player. It's why I'm a truck driver.
Baby, we're running out of money.
I'm marrying Kyle, and you've got to move out.
Honey, we're running out of dough.
We're on a programme of continuous improvement from now.
Well, the good thing is, I'm fine.
Geronimo, then?
Are you serious?
We've all got our problems. He knew what I was going through at the moment.
Malachi!
I am concerned about him, father to son, to prostitute.
Truckers, original British drama, starts next Thursday at 9 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
Don't love you.
Every time
Graham, is that you?
you are near,
Well, speak to me.
just like me, they long to be.
You're a damn good ventriloquist, Bob.
That's easy for you to say.
Brand new sketch comedy from the Ginge, the Geordie and the Geek continues Sunday at 7:30 on BBC Two and BBC Two HD.